Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are live at the 360 Vegas studios with Trooper Wellman here for another edition of Trooper Talk. So Trooper Wellman, so great that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
So there's a lot of things to talk about. You know, one of the things that I want to discuss is the heat. You know, we're also now prone to, we go out and do things. And so now all of a sudden we do things during the day and it's really hot. And so you don't realize that how much the sun takes out of our physical body, and now we get behind the wheel, and driving tired is sometimes even worse than driving intoxicated.
Yes.
And so talk to us about that.
Yes. I mean, if you don't feel okay, don't get behind the wheel of the vehicle. With the temperatures increasing, you have to stay hydrated. And even myself, I can drink, a gallon of water a day, whatever, all these electrolytes, coconut water, and yet with all my gear and being out there on the road, and like I said, I'm standing on pavement that's over, 120 degrees, melting my boots, it takes a toll on you, and it's a real thing, and heat stroke is a real thing, and you have to be aware of it and pay attention to your body and the signs that it's giving you, because if you don't feel okay, do not get behind the wheel, because all that's going to do is cause possibly you to crash or hurt yourself or someone else, or it's just like you said, if the heat will take it out of you, and you'll get drowsy and just like almost like you're falling asleep, just like you said. And we would hate for someone to pass out behind the wheel, because that's very, very scary. So please just don't get behind the wheel if you don't feel okay, and please stay hydrated this summer.
Yeah, and the other thing that I notice now is that, I don't know why, but I noticed a lot more cars that are pulling off to the shoulder for whatever reason. Something's wrong with the car or whatever. But I noticed one today where they were pulled off to the side of the road, and their driver's side door was all the way extended, and I mean they were close to the, and so I look at it that you can travel the same road twice, and it's never the same.
Yeah.
And so, it really, it's scary. They pull around the corner, and, the car is there. And so, it's...
I would highly recommend, if you do have any vehicle issues or you need to pull over, if you can, please exit the freeway. With the highways, you're dealing with speeds of 65 miles an hour minimum. We have decent shoulders, but either way, you're always safer at lower rates of speed on the surface streets if you can. Sometimes you're not fortunate enough for that to happen, and you just pull over to get out of the roadway. If you ever find yourself in a position where you're not in the safest location, again, don't hesitate to call us, Star NHP, 911. We'll be there to go ahead and get behind you, protect you, help you make arrangements to get off the highway. We can even possibly push your vehicle with our cars. We're equipped with push bumpers on the front of our vehicles for those reasons, as well as we have Freeway Service Patrol that patrol our highways with us, and that's their purpose, is to make sure that you are safe and we get you off that highway safely. So please don't ever hesitate to call.
Yeah, and the last and final thing that I wanted to talk to you about that I noticed this week, Sunday, normally there's no cars on the road. There was a tremendous amount of cars this weekend. And so not only more cars brings more people, but, people are always wanting to race. And people are always wanting to drive fast in these cars that are not made to do the kind of speeds.
Yeah.
And so they're just ripping around, and and so you can't, it's very difficult because you're behind the wheel, and, you want to be safe. You can't make a phone call and all this. But, we got to get people to slow down because they're just going too fast.
Yeah. Again, personal responsibility. Those drivers, when you're watching these cars race or traveling really fast next to you, the first thought in your mind should be is, they have no regard for my safety or their own, so let me get out of the way, because they're not going to stop, and they don't care that they're putting your life in jeopardy. So if you do need to report a crime or an emergency, which I believe that constitutes an emergency, because they're putting everyone in danger. So, Nevada revised statute, you are exempt to call 911 and report these reckless vehicles, because that is a danger to the public, and we need to get that vehicle off the roadway because it's unacceptable and we have zero tolerance for it.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, just, ripping down the road. So, so thanks. And, one of the best parts about Trooper Talk is this, where we're able to talk. And so, and so people can send in the questions and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we got some good pictures for today.
Okay.
So the move over law. So I just saw something in Henderson
Yes.
where they're doing a thing with the move over law too. Tell us what the move over law is and what it's for.
Yeah, the move over law is if you see an emergency vehicle on the shoulder, whether it be left or right shoulder, if you can safely move over a lane, you are to do so. If there's traffic, you need to at least decrease your speed than if you can't safely move over. That's for our safety, as well as the move over law has been updated throughout the years. Any vehicle on the side of the highway that's in the shoulder, you need to move over or decrease your speed, because we're seeing too many people. It's interesting, but if you focus on something, you start to drift that way. And so people will be staring at the vehicle, just like you were looking at the door being open on the car.
Yeah.
Like very simply, you wouldn't even realize, but you would start drifting over because that's where your focus was. And that's why we always say move over if you can, or at least slow down, because you're like attracted to it. It's like your car goes where you're looking, subconsciously not paying attention. Like it just happens. And so unfortunately, many times that we're on the side of the highway, conducting our investigation, and people aren't paying full attention and they hit us. And I've seen too many partners get struck before, myself included. I was hit by an impaired driver when I was working a traffic accident, and it was
Hold on.
No, you're
All
okay.
right. No, it's okay. Go ahead.
And it all could have been preventable, just if they would have slowed. Well, if they didn't drive impaired, first of all, but more times than not, if they just slowed down or moved over, it would have been prevented. So any vehicle on the left or right shoulder, please move over or slow down.
Yeah, I was going to say it's very, very important that that you can ruin somebody's life. Like you can kill somebody by just not paying attention. I saw the other day they had the big truck that had the wide load on there. Where it's taking up 2 lanes, and the same thing. I noticed myself because he was taking up 2 lanes, and the perception was you didn't notice. Because he had the truck following him and the truck in front of him that had the wide load, and so they were taking, the big, like one of those D11s, so they were taking up two lanes, and so you don't realize, because you're following the one truck, that the perception of what it is, and so it's not the same idea, but
Yeah, no, there's been a lot of crashes I've been on where a car will be in the middle of nowhere and they hit the one light pole or the one, electrical pole, and it's like, what are the odds? But what it really was they focused on it, and that's where they got steered to.
Exactly. That's what I was looking like this, and all of a sudden I was very scary. So we've talked about this before, not to go into detail about specific people.
Yeah.
We're talking in generalized terms. That you have been on scenes where people have been ejected, and not to go into detail, but they lost their life.
Yes.
And so, number one, the family, not coming home to dinner and all this type of stuff, but what it does to you personally, right? Like you have a family. And so you have to now go home to your family and, so how was your day? Well, I really, I don't want to talk about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so there's traumatic things that happen on both ends, right?
Absolutely. We call it the ripple effect. Everybody on scene is affected by what they see and what we have to do there. Their loved ones are affected. People that maybe weren't even there or don't even know the person but hear the story are affected. And I think one of the hardest things on these fatal calls is you almost want to go back in time. if you could just change one thing, it would change the outcome, like that Butterfly Effect movie. And I think that's what's so frustrating, because I go on these calls and yes, someone's ejected, and it may not even have been that intense of a crash, but because they were ejected, it had fatal consequences. And if they just would have wore their seatbelt, something so simple, it all could have possibly been prevented. And I'll stand there and have like this outer body experience of just, if they just would have put their seatbelt on, maybe we wouldn't be here right now. They would still be here right now. We're not having to see their loved ones cry. They're not having to plan a funeral. I mean, just everything about it by one simple action of something. Maybe put the phone down, slow down, wear your seatbelt, don't get behind the wheel if you're impaired. I mean, all these choices, and we always talk about choices, could prevent these tragedies. Just one choice, right? It's crazy. And I mean, we can't predict the future, and we don't know what's going to happen, but we can always do our best by these choices that we make, by putting on our seatbelt to try to prevent, because you don't know if somebody else isn't going to make the right choice tonight or today, and they're going to drive impaired and possibly hit you. And if you were wearing your seatbelt, that could have possibly saved your life. You made all the right choices, but you can't control others' actions, right? So, you just do what you can to try to prevent these things from happening.
The thing is that when I first got my license, they always talked about doing defensive driving.
Yes.
And so, there's a way to drive and, as best as you can. And so when we do defensive driving, like I saw a thing like on the freeway or something that said, don't text while you're driving, or don't text like while you're driving, because who's driving your car or something. Right. And it's like, you do all these things and like, you don't realize, but when you look down, for 1.5 seconds, a lot of things can change.
Absolutely.
And so besides the fact that, you have a blowout in the tire, you know what I mean? Like, you're not paying attention to the steering wheel.
You and I, we always talk about just being human. And I mean, you can't help it. And I'm guilty of it too. We both have said personally that we've had moments where we're like, that could have been really bad.
Yeah.
That was scary. Oh my gosh, I just got really lucky.
Yeah.
And, just the other day I was driving and I was kind of tired. And so I was just like, you almost like, when you get to your destination, you're like, how did I do? Like, I don't even remember driving here, and it's kind of scary to think about. And I'm like, oh my goodness, because my mind was going 20 different places. I was thinking about work and all kinds of stuff. And I was like, I really need to focus because, I'm behind the wheel of a motor vehicle, and I try my best to practice what I preach, and I don't want to be a hypocrite. And so, but everybody's human, and, my phone goes off in the car and I'll look at it and I'm just like, no, we just talked about this. I remember that crash, and it's a lot of willpower to like not touch that phone, right? And pay full attention to the roadway. Or if you get caught up on a phone call conversation and you're driving, you might be doing everything right. It's Bluetooth, but still you're like completely focused in that conversation, and it's like, oh my goodness, I almost just made that lane change. I didn't even see that car on my left. Like, that was a scary moment right there. And so you always just got to take a second to really focus while we're driving, because it just takes a second. Yeah. Right.
And that's the thing. Like, we're all human.
Yeah.
Like, what I mean? So like, I was telling somebody, we all put our pants on the same way, and so, the thing is that we're all guilty of doing these things. And so the best thing that we can do is, try to not do it.
Right.
And try to change it so that when, somebody is doing it, that they just, oh yeah, I remember this, or, you know what I mean? Whatever. And so it's very important. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Speeding accounts for nearly 1/3 of all Nevada fatalities. And again, it's interesting. So I was following somebody the other day, and he was in one of these electric pickup trucks.
Oh.
Okay. And so I know from driving the car to the truck that the difference is that the truck is a missile.
Yeah.
The car, although it's very fast, it's a lot more agile. And so even though it's sort of like a missile in itself, it's not, it's totally different.
Yeah.
So anyway, this guy decides that he wants to be silly and drive at an expedited speed. And so the electric cars are super fast. We already know that. You know what I mean? Like they go from 0 to whatever very, very fast, and that's the way it is. Mm-hmm. But the difference is that the truck was like this.
Yeah. It's not meant to go that fast. Even though it can,
Right.
it's not meant to go
It's
that fast.
not meant to go that
Their reaction time has now decreased. So if there is debris in the roadway, you know,
Yeah.
they're going to strike it or hurt someone else. Or if there's a stalled car in the roadway, their reaction time is just not going to be there. As well as, again, they're just putting themselves in harm for no
Yeah,
reason.
For no reason.
For no
so Zero
reason.
Fatalities, we love.
Yes.
The donor network, we love.
Yep.
And so, you know, we always want to give a shout out to them. They
Yep.
do fantastic things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
And-
highly encourage you to go on their social media because they've been posting a lot of videos. Their campaign this go around is Yet, and everything is like you have an impaired driver, and they'll be like, "Well, I've driven impaired or drunk, you know, a lot of times, and I've never been stopped or hurt anybody." And the whole point is Yet. Like, it's just a matter of time until you get caught or you hurt yourself or someone else or, oh, I drive fast all the time. I've never crashed. Not yet, right? Like, that's the whole thing. And so, yeah, please go on zerofatalities.com. And they always put codes for discounts on ride shares for Lyft or Uber that they partner with on holiday weekends because they want everyone to get home safely.
Yeah. Well, so and it's really, really important that we want to do everything we can to support them.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Share the road so others can ride. You know, we can talk about the motorcycles. You know, some of them drive like lunatics. You know, some of the car people drive like lunatics, right?
Yep.
But, you know, just like with anything, you know, probably they you know, 98% or 97% or 98, whatever the number is,
Yeah.
are respectful.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? They get on their motorcycle. They're enjoying the freedom of what it is. Remember, you know, you used to ride,
Yeah.
right? And so still do, right?
Sometimes.
Okay.
It's hot right now.
Yeah, too hot. And so, but you know, just like this gentleman's doing, you know, it's about enjoying it's about enjoying it, right?
Yeah, it's a pleasure, right? Like, you go out there to ride, you work hard so you can buy a nice bike and just enjoy the open road. It's not fair that, you know, I shouldn't say not fair, but I mean, just always watch your surroundings because they just want to be able to ride and be safe as well. So just always watch your surroundings, and if you see one of those reckless motorcycles, just get out of the way. There's no
Yeah.
point, you know, just get out of the way. But
I saw one the other day. He was standing on the motorcycle, holding with one hand, dancing. And so, you know, like, what do? You know, so I'm just like, you know, he's trying to, you know, egg everybody on, and you know, like, and so, like, you know, but it's just like, you know, just
again, if you want to,
just get away from him.
yep, get away from them. Report it. Call us. Let us know so we can go in the area. Just we don't want to see anybody get hurt, them
Yeah.
included.
Yeah.
You know, they're not. And you know, it sucks because there's a lot of riders, like you said, that actually are good, respectable riders, and it's almost like a stigma, like, oh, you have a bike, so you're probably reckless, and that's not fair to the responsible riders out there. So.
And I would have to say that when it comes to the motorcycles, you know, they probably feel that, you know, more times than not, the cars aren't respectful of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
so we, you know, we just have to be conscious of all.
It's just
these
because
things.
they're smaller, so it's harder to see them, and people, you know, look in their mirror and they don't see anything, and they go to make the lane change, and then, oh, there's a bike there, and
Yeah.
it's just everybody's responsibility to make sure that it's clear.
Yeah. What do you think? All done. Let's talk about one final thing before we go, which is don't drive impaired.
Absolutely.
You know, no speeding, any of that type of stuff. And tell everybody if they want the recruitment, where should they go and all that type of stuff.
NevadaStatePolice.com. If you go on our website, not only does it have different, it spells out the criteria that you need if you want to apply, but you can talk to a live recruiter right then and there. We have testings coming up constantly that we could get you in. If you've ever had that passion to want to protect and serve your community, the community that you are a part of, and you want to make that difference, please, NevadaStatePolice.com. You get a take-home car. I mean, there's a lot of different perks. You get benefits, and you get to wake up every morning and feel proud of what you do for your community. So I highly encourage you, if you have that drive, NevadaStatePolice.com.
Yeah, the take-home car is the greatest.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
Especially right now.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Trooper Wellman, thank you very much. So we appreciate it. We'll wave at everybody, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks.